I will show you what I'm made of today.
That's what I'm talking about, Odogu.
Oh, yes.
Honey, why did you stop? And why did you scream?
Baby, I think I just juiced.
Honey, what is this? What do you mean you have juiced?
I'm sorry, babe. I tried. I couldn't hold it.
You couldn't hold what? We were just kissing. We haven't even started the main action.
I'm so sorry.
Not again today. Not again. What have I gotten myself into?
She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This is fine, she told herself. This is completely fine. But it wasn't fine. Not even a little bit. But let me tell you how it all began. Chioma was the kind of woman people noticed the moment she walked into a room. Beautiful? Yes. But it wasn't just that. She carried herself like she knew exactly what she wanted and wasn't going to settle for anything less. Her skin glowed. Her hair was always laid perfectly. Her nails were always done. Her clothes fit like they were tailored specifically for her body. And her mouth, sharp as a blade. Chioma didn't believe in love. She believed in money. Anytime her friends, Sade and Ongrazi, sat around talking about men who wrote them poems or took them on romantic walks or cooked for them, Chioma would roll her eyes so hard you could hear it. Abeg, pack well, she would say, waving her hand dismissively. Na love you go chop. Please be serious. Sade would laugh. Chioma, not everything is about money, oh. Everything is about money, Chioma would reply without hesitation. You people can keep deceiving yourselves with your he loves me, he cares for me nonsense. Me, I want a man with money. Full stop. Ngozi would shake her head. But what if the man is broke but treats you like a queen? Chioma would look at her like she had just said the most foolish thing in the world. Treats me like a queen with what money? With love? With care? She kissed her teeth. Please, let me tell you people something. I want Odogu, big man, money man, Range Rover man, foreign trips man, designer bags man. That is what I want. Anything less than that, I'm not interested. Her friends would laugh at her, but Chioma was dead serious. She wasn't joking. She had a plan, a vision, a standard, and she was not going to lower it for anybody. Then one day, Emeka walked into her life. Tall, handsome, well-built, smooth skin, deep voice, designer clothes, Rolex watch packed outside, Range Rover Sport packed outside. The first time Chioma saw him at a friend's birthday party, she nearly dropped her drink. This one, she thought, this is the one. Emeka noticed her too. How could he not? She was glowing that night, laughing loudly, commanding attention without even trying. He walked up to her with confidence. Hi, I'm Emeka. She smiled, tilted her head slightly. Chioma. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman. Chioma wanted to roll her eyes at the line, but she let it slide because the Rolex on his wrist was distracting her in the best way possible. They talked for hours that night. He told her he owned 3 businesses, real estate, importation, and a logistics company. He had just returned from Dubai. He was building a house in Lekki. Chioma's heart was doing flips. At the end of the night, he asked for her number. She gave it to him without hesitation. 2 days later, he took her to an expensive restaurant, the kind where the menu had no prices and the waiters spoke in hushed, respectful tones. Chioma felt like she had finally arrived. This was the life she wanted, the life she deserved. Within 2 months, Emeka proposed. He took her to a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city, got down on one knee and pulled out a ring that sparkled so bright Chioma had to blink twice. She didn't even wait for him to finish talking. Yes, she screamed. Yes, yes, yes. Her friends were shocked at how fast everything moved, but Chioma didn't care. This is what I've been waiting for. Odogu has finally arrived. Sade and Ngozi exchanged glances, but said nothing. They had learned by now that when Chioma made up her mind, there was no point arguing. The wedding was everything Chioma had dreamed of. Big, glamorous, expensive. The reception hall was decorated like a palace. The cake was 5 tiers high. The live band played for hours. Guests danced until their feet hurt. Money sprayed everywhere like rain. Chioma wore 3 different dresses, each one more stunning than the last. Her makeup was flawless. Her photographer captured every angle. She felt like a queen. Emeka looked like a king beside her, tall and handsome in his tailored suit, smiling and waving at guests. Everything was perfect, absolutely perfect. Until the wedding night. They arrived at the hotel suite Emeka had booked, a massive room with a jacuzzi, a king's bed, rose petals scattered everywhere, and champagne chilling in a bucket. Chioma's heart was racing. She had waited for this moment. She had saved herself, stayed focused, and now finally everything was about to come together. She went into the bathroom, took a long shower, lotioned her body until her skin glowed, sprayed her most expensive perfume, and slipped into a red lace nightgown that left very little to the imagination. When she stepped out, Emeka was sitting on the edge of the bed, already in his boxers, looking nervous. Chioma walked over slowly, smiling. "Are you ready?" Emeka nodded quickly. Yeah, of course." They kissed. Things started heating up. Chioma's mind was already racing ahead, imagining how amazing this was going to be after all the waiting, all the anticipation. And then it was over. Emeka pulled back, breathing hard, and said quietly, I'm done." "Done? Done with what?" I finished." She stared at him. "Finished? We just started kissing." Emeka looked away, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I think it's just the stress. The wedding was a lot. I'm exhausted." Chioma wanted to scream, but she took a deep breath and forced herself to smile. "Okay," she said slowly. "It's fine. You are tired. I understand." She lay down beside him, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince herself it was just nerves, just exhaustion, just something temporary. Tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow wasn't different. The next night, the same thing happened. 2 minutes, maybe less, and then it was over. Chioma lay there again, staring at the ceiling, her body untouched, her mind spinning. What is going on? The third night, she tried to talk to him gently about it. "Emeka, is everything okay? Like, are you feeling all right?" He got defensive immediately. "What do you mean?" "I'm fine. Why are you asking?" I'm just wondering if maybe we should, I don't know, talk about." "There's nothing to talk about," he snapped. "I'm tired, that's all. Stop making it a big deal." Chioma shut her mouth and said nothing else. Weeks passed. Chioma tried everything. She wore different nightgowns. She set the mood with candles and music. She initiated. She waited for him to initiate. Nothing worked. Every single time it ended the same way. Fast. Too fast. Sometimes before anything really began. And every time, Emeka had an excuse. "I'm stressed from work. I didn't sleep well last night. I think I ate too much." Chioma stopped asking questions. She just lay there afterwards, staring at the ceiling, wondering how her perfect life had turned into this. Her big house felt empty. Her designer bag sat untouched in the closet. Her expensive shoes had nowhere to go because she didn't even feel like leaving the house anymore. All the money in the world couldn't fix what was happening in her bedroom. And the worst part, she couldn't tell anyone, not even Sadi and Ngozi. How could she? After all her talk about Odogu and money being everything, how could she admit that her rich, handsome husband couldn't even last 5 minutes? So she stayed quiet, smiled in public, pretended everything was perfect, but inside, she was dying.
One afternoon, Chioma came home early from the market and found Emeka in the compound, shirtless, doing push-ups. She stood there watching him, confused. He was sweating, grunting, lifting weights, doing sit-ups like he was training for a competition. When he finally noticed her, he stood up, breathing hard, and puffed out his chest. "You see this?" he said, pointing at his body. "I'm getting stronger. You've been complaining too much, so tonight I'm going to show you. Tonight you will see Pepe. Chioma's eyes widened. Hope flickered in her chest for the first time in weeks. Maybe, she thought, maybe this is it. Maybe he's finally ready. She rushed inside, her heart pounding. She took the longest shower of her life, scrubbing every inch of her body until her skin glowed. She lotioned herself carefully, sprayed her best perfume, the one she had been saving, and slipped into her sexiest nightgown. She lay on the bed, posed like she was in a photo shoot, waiting. When Emeka walked in, he looked determined, confident, almost cocky. He stood at the foot of the bed, hands on his hips, looking at her like a warrior about to go into battle. "Baby," he said, seriously, "tonight I will teach you a lesson." Chioma's heart raced. Finally. They started kissing, slowly at first, then faster. Chioma closed her eyes, ready, waiting. And then Emeka went completely still. "Baby," he whispered. "Yes," she whispered back, eyes still closed. I think I have juiced." Chioma's eyes flew open. "What?" He pointed at the bed. There was a small wet spot on the sheets. Chioma didn't move. She didn't speak. She just lay there, staring at the ceiling. Again. Emeka tried to apologize. "I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I was so ready. It's fine," Chioma said flatly, cutting him off. "Just go to sleep." That night, she didn't cry. She was too tired to cry. She just lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering how her life had become this. A few days later, Chioma met up with Sade and Ngozi at their usual spot, a small restaurant where they gathered every few weeks to catch up and gossip. She hadn't wanted to come, but they had been calling her non-stop, saying she was avoiding them. So she went, forced a smile, ordered food she didn't feel like eating. Sade and Ngozi were in the middle of their usual complaints. "I'm telling you, this man doesn't let me rest," Sade said, shaking her head dramatically. Every single night, I'm exhausted." Ngozi laughed. "Same here. Sometimes I pretend to be asleep so I can get a break. If I don't, he will not let me hear a word." They both burst out laughing. Chioma sat there quietly, sipping her drink, staring at the table. Sade noticed. "Chioma, you are too quiet. What's wrong?" "Nothing," Chioma said quickly. "I'm fine." Ngozi leaned forward. "You are lying. Something is wrong. Talk to us." Chioma shook her head. "It's nothing, really." But Sade wasn't letting it go. "Chioma, we've known you for years. We know when something is wrong. Talk." Chioma felt the tears coming before she could stop them. She put her face in her hands and started crying. Sade and Ngozi immediately panicked, reaching across the table to hold her hands. "What happened? Did Emeka do something? Did he hurt you?" Chioma shook her head, wiping her face. "No, he didn't hurt me. It's She took a deep breath and said it. "He can't last. He finishes in like 2 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes before we even start." There was a long silence. Then Sade snorted. Then Ngozi started giggling. And then both of them burst out into full, uncontrollable laughter. 2 minutes, Sade gasped between laughs. 2 minutes. Ngozi added, "Mr. Odogun himself, the man with the Range Rover and the Rolex. 2 minutes, man." Chioma wanted to be mad, but she couldn't help it. She started laughing too. Not because it was funny, but because if she didn't laugh, she would cry even harder. After they calmed down, Sade got serious. "Chioma, listen. This is not something to be ashamed of. It happens to a lot of men, but he needs to see a doctor. Ngozi nodded. Exactly. There are treatments, solutions, but he has to accept that there's a problem first. Chioma sighed. He won't even talk about it. Every time I try, he gets defensive. Then you have to push him, Sade said firmly. This is your marriage, your happiness. You can't suffer in silence. Chioma nodded slowly. They were right. It took Chioma 2 weeks to convince Emeka to see a doctor. He fought her every step of the way. His pride wouldn't let him admit there was a problem. But eventually, after Chioma threatened to move back to her mother's house, he agreed. They sat in the doctor's office together, both nervous. The doctor was professional, calm, and non-judgmental. He asked Emeka questions, ran some tests, and then sat them down to explain. This condition is called premature ejaculation, the doctor said gently. It's more common than you think, and in your case, it's likely related to years of excessive masturbation, which can desensitize the body and create these issues. Emeka looked down at his hands, embarrassed. But, the doctor continued, the good news is it's treatable. With the right exercises, therapy, and sometimes medication, we can improve this significantly. He gave them a plan, exercises to do together, techniques to try, patience to practice. Chioma and Emeka left the office hand in hand, both feeling hopeful for the first time in months. The next few weeks were hard. It wasn't a magic fix. Some nights were better than others. Some nights nothing worked at all. But slowly, very slowly, things started improving. Emeka stopped making excuses. He started listening. He started trying. And Chioma started feeling like a wife again instead of a roommate. One evening, after a particularly good night, Emeka lay in bed smiling. Her body finally relaxed, her mind finally at peace. Emeka turned to her. Are you happy? She nodded. Yes, very. He kissed her forehead. I'm sorry it took me so long to listen. It's okay, she whispered. We're here now. That's what matters. 2 months later, Chioma met up with Sade and Ngozi again. The moment she walked in, they both stared at her. Girl, Sade said slowly, you're glowing. Ngozi nodded, like really glowing. What happened? Chioma sat down, trying to hide her smile. Nothing, just life is good. Sade leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Life is good or something else is good. Chioma burst out laughing. Okay, fine. Things are better, much better. Not perfect yet, but we're getting there. Sade and Ngozi screamed with laughter. Mr. 2-Minute Man is learning, Ngozi shouted. Odogu is back in the building, Sade added. Chioma laughed so hard her stomach hurt. You people are not serious. But then she got quiet, her smile fading just a little. You know, she said softly, I used to think money was everything. I used to say, na love you go chop, like it was a joke. But now I know a man can have everything on the outside, money, cars, houses, everything, and still leave you staring at the ceiling at night. Sade and Ngozi nodded, their laughter fading into understanding. Money is important, Chioma continued, but it's not everything. It can't fix everything, and it definitely can't make you happy if the other things aren't there. Ngozi reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You've learned a big lesson, my sister. Chioma nodded. Yes, a very big one. And as they sat there laughing and talking late into the evening, Chioma realized something important. She had wanted Odogu. She had gotten Odogu. But what she really needed was a partner. Someone who would listen. Someone who would try. Someone who cared enough to work through the hard things instead of pretending they didn't exist. And now, finally, she had that. Money couldn't buy that. Love couldn't guarantee it either. But effort, patience, communication, those things built it. And for the first time in her marriage, Chioma felt truly rich. The end. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to subscribe to Omar's African Tales. Like this video and share it with your friends and family who need a good laugh and a good lesson. Comment down below and tell us what you think. Where are you watching from? We really would love to know. Also, have you ever realized that what you thought mattered most actually didn't? What was your lesson? Until next time, remember, money can buy comfort, but it can't buy connection. Choose wisely. Goodbye.